In September 2019, Salesforce unveiled Manufacturing Cloud. It's the latest offering from the company, aimed directly at manufacturers, and it builds off Sales Cloud. But Manufacturing Cloud is different. It's internally facing, meaning it's not aimed at the customer so much as it's designed to help sales teams and operation planning teams find common ground on which to plan, forecast, and deliver to the customer. Every manufacturer knows all too well how difficult and frustrating finding this common ground can be. Hello, I'm Chris Henry, and this is Ahead of the Curve, the only podcast that deals with Salesforce technology solutions for the manufacturing sector. Ahead of the Curve is produced by Gerent, a top Salesforce consultation and implementation partner. In this episode, we're going to take a close look at Manufacturing Cloud, what it is, what it does, and why it's something that no manufacturer should be without. We'll speak with Andrew Witherspoon, a Salesforce VP for manufacturing on the industry go-to-market team, and Jenny Guy, the global lead for manufacturing cloud operations at Salesforce. So let's begin by breaking down what Manufacturing Cloud is and what it's intended to do for manufacturers. Here's Andrew Witherspoon.
Well, I think really the best way to think about what we're doing with Manufacturing Cloud is it's the next iteration of Sales Cloud specifically designed to enhance the ability of manufacturers to manage their business, both from a product perspective as well as a forecasting perspective. And it does that by complementing the existing features of Sales Cloud, which help you manage your opportunity funnel and predict new business and forecast against that. Manufacturing Cloud adds the capability to manage your run rate business, or that typically 80% of the business that's just assumed to come in the door, and allows you to model that into the future and then forecast against that, so you have a complete revenue and product forecast to build your supply chain plan around. Because the big difference about run rate business is it's not tied to a specific opportunity. So most people were managing it based on historical norms, which works fine in a steady business. But as we all know, things have been anything but steady in recent 18 months. And so the ability to quickly detect and then adjust your plan based on deviations from what you expect is really the value that it's adding.
Let's get into that in a little more detail. There are two key components that help to make Manufacturing Cloud relevant for manufacturers. Here's Jenny Guy, the Salesforce global lead for manufacturing cloud operations.
So the first feature is sales agreements. This is allowing manufacturers to manage their run rate or repeat business and model the sales outcomes of those long-term customer relationships. Things like the length of the agreement, the total planned committed volumes by their customers, the pricing information that they've provided to those customers, and ultimately the roll-up of actual orders as well. And now with all of that, our manufacturing customers can really easily answer questions like, how is my customer performing against their planned commitment, and how have they performed in the past? And then the sales agreement functionality really lays the foundation for collaborative account-based forecasting, which is the second unique feature we brought to market. This feature allows manufacturers to define their own forecast algorithms that take into account their unique business inputs and generates a unified view of their entire business across predicted revenue and product volumes.
The idea for Manufacturing Cloud evolved from a survey of customer companies that Salesforce conducted to uncover new and interesting adaptations of its platform. What the company discovered was unexpected. Andrew Witherspoon again.
Well, it really came as an output of a research project our product management team did. And they specifically went out to over 100 medium and large manufacturing organizations across several different subsectors and asked them questions looking for uses of Salesforce that were highly customized or were being done in other applications where we could add some additional value. And what came out of that research very clearly was the need to model and forecast against this run rate business. We saw multiple large customers creating fake opportunities or creating fictitious quotes to try to model this, but it wasn't working very effectively. And so we wanted to step in and give them something out of the box to help better manage their business.
The product research team had really unearthed the need that was not being met by demand planning tools or ERP systems. The team saw companies that were trying to more closely align sales and production especially around their ongoing or run rate business, and failing to find a viable means to do so. ERP systems can do a good job of demand forecasting, but they rarely include input from sales teams who don't use ERP. So I asked Jenny Guy if she thought the manufacturing cloud provided the missing component.
I think so, especially in terms of kind of capturing those changing demand signals. So I think the biggest differentiator with Manufacturing Cloud is that it's a tool that's specifically designed for sales teams that enables them to capture insights into their customer relationships. And because it's built on the Salesforce platform, it's also uniquely collaborative, mobile-enabled, leverages advanced analytics, etc. So if you think about the three solutions that I highlighted previously, so spreadsheets are really easy to use, really highly configurable, but they're also static. They're error prone, and any errors that you do make in kind of the underlying data model are proliferated throughout. And they're really not conducive to collaboration. And then on the other end of the spectrum, those demand planning tools and ERP systems, they have really deep functionality in this space, but they're not that flexible and they're certainly not that easy to use. And ultimately, they're not the tools that your manufacturing sales teams are working in. So Manufacturing Cloud, I think, is really filling an unmet need in this space by providing a collaborative tool to capture sales insights on changing customer and market demands right in the CRM where sales teams are already working.
This disconnect between sales and production planning became very clear to the product research team during their survey.
What we found was that the S&OP planning teams, the sales and operation planning teams, they literally were not listening to the sales teams, particularly on the run rate business. The opportunities they did take into account in their model, and because that was net new business and that was a credible forecast, but they weren't getting any direct input from the sales teams that they found credible on the run rate business. So they went ahead and modeled themselves, which meant in many cases they were off. In fact, we were working with one large HVAC manufacturer that was off by $200 million per quarter on their run rate business through distribution. So it can be a very significant number.
Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts here. How does Manufacturing Cloud address a situation like that?
Well, really what it's doing is it's allowing the sales team to programmatically, based on the data and the actual orders coming in, manage that run rate business minute by minute, day by day, order by order, and then make adjustments accordingly in terms of their strategy and execution. Thus, they have a way of communicating with the rest of the organization, specifically the sales and operations planning team, a credible number about what the number is supposed to be, what the number actually is, and how it should project into the future. That wasn't the case with the spreadsheets and kind of manual swags that were going on previously. So it gives the S&OP team a better sales input that's more credible, to put it succinctly.
That better sales input that Andrew referred to is missing when sales teams have no means to inject their knowledge of customer demand into the forecasting process. What results is incomplete forecasting.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the forecast process at manufacturers has traditionally been really siloed across different organizations and systems and is usually done with minimal input from sales. And sales teams are really at the forefront in understanding the customer relationship, but also being able to see any future customer or market demands that might be changing. And the foundation for accurate forecasting is really about having visibility into those customer demand signals. And sales agreements is really providing that missing piece by providing a framework for manufacturers to manage and track the performance of their run rate or long-term repeat business. Before Manufacturing Cloud, many of our manufacturing customers only had half the story. So with opportunity management that you find in Sales Cloud, they could track net new business or track kind of these project and design wins. But the collaborative forecasting in Sales Cloud only allowed them to roll up opportunity revenue at a single point in time rather than measuring performance over time, which really reflects how their customers are ordering from them and how they're recognizing revenue. So with Manufacturing Cloud, customers can create that unified forecast across their entire business in a way that reflects how they go to market and ultimately how they make money.
Historic sales data in ERPs is critical to accurate sales forecasting. The trick is finding a way for sales teams to access that data for themselves. More often than not, it's inaccessible without writing custom code or building some other complex procedure to unlock the door. Enter Manufacturing Cloud.
Yeah, it's really designed specifically to do that. As part of the research with those 100 companies, again, we took a look at what the ERP system was doing well and what it wasn't doing well in this process. And what we found was those volume agreements, which we call sales agreements, were ending up in ERP, but no one was managing them after they were placed in ERP. So, for example, if a customer committed to 1,000 units over the year, that would be logged in ERP, but ERP was not doing anything with that information as those orders came in or did not come in. And it's because the sales teams generally are not in SAP day to day. So we want to bring that information back out via integration with MuleSoft to the daily dashboard for that team so the whole organization can manage around it.
MuleSoft is the data integration company that Salesforce bought in the spring of 2018. Its software technology permits connectivity among data, applications, and devices, and it's really the special sauce that can open up ERP data to the sales teams. However, it's not just a one-way street where the data flows only from ERP to Salesforce CRM.
So what we're bringing back are the actuals, and then we're also linking the quotes, opportunities, and sales agreements from Salesforce back into the ERP as well. And then obviously there's, through the sales forecasting, there's a connection in terms of the forecast going back into the planning software, which may or may not be in the ERP.
Unlocking data from ERPs may be vital, but it's just the first step. Analyzing the data in real time or near real time is what generates the value for manufacturers. Einstein Analytics has been playing an ever-growing role in Salesforce solutions, and it's front and center in Manufacturing Cloud as well.
Well, there's really two components of Einstein that we're leveraging. We're leveraging Einstein Analytics to do the dashboards and the visualization of the data, which is both the sales agreements and the execution or actuals against those sales agreements. And those are dashboards that can be used internally by various stakeholders within the organization, as well as being shared and collaborated with externally using our community product with customers, partners, or suppliers. The other part of Einstein that's important is the predictive capability. So just like we do with opportunity scoring and prediction, we now will have the same ability on sales agreements. So let's say, again, you commit to that hypothetical sales agreement of 1,000 units for the next year. We then can take a look at when you thought those orders were going to come in, which is modeled in the sales agreement data structure, and then look at the actuals. And then Einstein can calculate that against that agreement and all other similar agreements, and then make a prediction if it's likely to be 1,000 units, 1,200 units, or 800 units, and potentially also the reasons why or activities that you could take that would improve the situation as a salesperson.
Jenny Guy, the global lead for Manufacturing Cloud Operations, maintains that Einstein Analytics allows manufacturers to make informed decisions and take appropriate actions.
I would say it's definitely extending and creating deeper value for our Manufacturing Cloud customers. And this is really part of the overarching Manufacturing Cloud solution that I am most excited about. So I don't think in today's world, and we briefly touched upon this, that any manufacturer would say that they don't have enough data to make business decisions, but rather they would say that the challenge is really to quickly and easily translate that data into actionable business insights for the right people when they need it. And this is what Einstein Analytics for Manufacturing is doing. It's really allowing a business user to easily answer questions like, how am I performing against plan? And what's the best, medium, and worst case scenario? How accurate are my business's forecasts? How are my products performing, and which ones are driving the most revenue growth for my business? How accurate are my pricing assumptions? Which customers are most likely to churn, and how can I deepen my relationships with my customers? I think it's a really powerful set of analytics that comes right out of the box. And if customers want to answer other business questions using data in Salesforce or in external systems, they have access to the full analytics platform and are able to do just that.
If a manufacturer is able to generate stable and accurate sales forecasts and combine them with solid production planning, the impact for the organization is extremely positive. And if that's the case, then there's going to be a positive impact on the manufacturer's supply chain as well.
Well, yeah. So what we've seen with some of our early pilot customers and the research we've done, that if you can more accurately predict what your total book of business is going to be and when it's going to come in and where the orders are coming from, you're going to have a much better input into your production planning and scheduling, where you're warehousing the product, so your logistics costs, when and where you're sourcing the intermediate raw materials to make those products. And so overall, it can be very substantial impact to net margin as well as higher levels of service and customer satisfaction.
Yeah, because obviously nobody in the supply chain can control customer demand. You can try and estimate what it's going to be, when it's going to be. And so, something like manufacturing cloud would be welcome within a supply chain simply because it can help to alleviate or smooth out those dips and spikes in demand
Well,
preemptively.
where it gets actually more interesting than just the supply chain benefits is if you have a better idea of what the true demand is for a given product at a set price point, which is also covered in our sales agreement, you're then in a position going over time to better calculate the demand and yield curves for that product, meaning that you can have a better, more effective pricing strategy going into the future.
And what of the future, at least as far as manufacturing cloud is concerned?
It's going to be the base of everything we do for manufacturing going forward across all the subsectors of manufacturing. And so we have very ambitious plans. This is not a single one-off product that you may or may not want to use off the shelf if you're a manufacturer. This is the core of the leading CRM platform for manufacturing. Two other areas that I definitely want to, if someone was considering going on manufacturing cloud, to understand is, number one, it's not just about creating a sales agreement and booking it in the Salesforce system and then connecting it to the ERP via a MuleSoft connector. It's really about the collaboration between the sales team, the sales and operations planning team, potentially the end customer or channel partner, using our communities product to enable that collaboration, and also using MuleSoft with connectors to SAP and in the future other ERP platforms to bring that data back and forth from Salesforce as well.
It would appear that Salesforce has given manufacturers a significant ability: how to merge current and historic sales data with production data in one central location, visible to all, and immediately showing any changes, updates, or modifications. By creating a two-way connection between ERP data and Salesforce CRM data, a company is now able to build a complete picture of a customer for its sales and production planning teams. Where there was once miscalculation and missed opportunities, now there's unity and consistency. You've been listening to Ahead of the Curve, produced by Gerent in cooperation with Salesforce. Our special thanks to Jenny Guy, Global Lead for Manufacturing Cloud Operations at Salesforce, and Andrew Witherspoon, Vice President of Manufacturing on the company's industry go-to-market team, for their knowledge and their input into today's episode. Our technical producer is Dave Grind from the Acme Podcasting Company in Toronto. And I'm Chris Henry. Thanks for joining us.